This meeting is being
Now,
recorded.
sir, we are live and recording.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday the 23rd at 2:37 p.m. I'll go ahead and call to order our land use meeting and public hearing. If you'll all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Attorney Garcia, do we have certification of the agenda today?
Yes, the county attorney's office reviewed all items on the agenda, and you have proper jurisdiction. They've all been properly notified.
Okay, thank you. And do any commissioners have disclosures for items on this agenda today?
I have none, thank you.
No, sir.
And I have none either. So with that, we'll move to item 2, our land use meeting agenda items, and there are no posted items for that item 2 today. So we'll move on to item 3, which is our public hearing agenda items. And our first agenda item is 3A, Fields Preliminary Plan, Project File SB 2022-036. Heather Scott, Principal Planner, presenting for staff. Heather?
Good afternoon. The applicant has asked for continuance to June 27th. They would like to provide more time to revise their plan and work with staff as necessary.
Okay, thank you. And I don't believe public comment is required for a continuance, so I will accept a motion.
I have a motion to continue Fields preliminary plan until June 27th, 2023 at 2:30 p.m. Project file SB 2022-036.
Second.
So there's a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. With that, we'll move to item 3B, which is a resolution approving the amended and restated service plan of the Southeast Public Improvement Metropolitan District. Lauren Pulver, presenting for staff. Lauren?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The project before you is a service plan amendment for Southeast Public Improvement Metropolitan District. The project number is SV 2022-001. I'm Lauren Pulver, representing Planning Resources. The applicant representative is Pat Mulhern with SpyMed. The purpose of the amendment is to update the service plan to expand the district's authority to use the existing mill levy to provide matching funds for various park and recreation improvements. The Board of County Commissioners created and adopted guidelines for processing and reviewing special district service plan applications. The procedures provide that the board review the service plan to determine its compliance with specific criteria set forth in the Control Act. The process begins with the submittal of an application. The request is prepared by staff and forwarded to referral agencies for comment. Staff further analyzes the request, and the applicant has the opportunity to resolve any issues identified through the referral period. The request is reviewed by the Planning Commission at a public meeting, and following public notice, the request is heard before the Board of County Commissioners. On April 17th, 2023, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the service plan amendment by a vote of 6-0. One public comment was made providing general comments on the district and questioning the necessity of the public amenities in business districts. The district is located along the I-25 corridor in the southern Denver metropolitan area, serving Denver, Douglas County, Arapahoe County, Centennial, Greenwood Village, and Lone Tree. The district was originally approved in 2004 to finance transportation-related services and activities on a shared or partnership basis with local governments in the district boundaries. The goal of the district was to partner to fund projects to improve the transportation system in the district. Local jurisdictions in the district are seeking additional strategies to reduce traffic congestion on the I-25 corridor that require investments beyond the traditional transportation infrastructure in an effort to create a work-life balance for residents by adding amenities such as parks, event centers, or performing arts centers. The proposed amendment gives the district the authority to utilize the existing 2 mil cap established in the original service plan to fund or assist in the funding of the costs of a variety of park and recreation amenities. The Colorado Revised Statutes specify criteria for approval of special district service plans. The board must consider the following 9 criteria in evaluating the service plan. In response to number 1, the growth and expansion of the Southeast Denver metro area continues to place additional demands on the park and recreation amenities of the area encompassed by the district boundaries. The expanded authority will enable the district to help meet this need. Number 2, the district board has identified a need for additional park and recreation amenities in order to further reduce vehicle trips and reduce traffic congestion. The district will provide funding to special districts and local governments for such projects. Number 3, the amendment does not contain changes to the mill levy or debt limit. Number 4, the amendment does not contemplate proposed indebtedness. In response to number 5, no other entity is able or willing to provide such services within a reasonable time or on a comparable basis. The district will provide funding to special districts and local governments to expand park and recreation amenities. Number 6, all facilities will continue to be constructed in accordance with all applicable standards. Number 7, the district is in compliance with Comprehensive Master Plan Goal 5-3, ensuring the district is financially sound and operating consistently within the service plan. Number 8, the district does not provide water or wastewater service. And number 9, the local governments encompassed by the district boundaries are seeking additional ways to serve residents and reduce traffic congestion. In staff's assessment, the application complies with the statutory criteria and the service plan amendment may be approved. This concludes my presentation. The applicant representative, Pat Mulhern, is here for any additional questions or comment.
Great. Thank you, Lauren. Any questions for staff?
I have one question. So, Lauren, we are approving this as Douglas County Commissioners. Will Arapahoe County Commissioners need to do the same thing, and have they already done that or not?
That's correct, Commissioner. I believe the Arapahoe County Board was considering it this morning, and it looks like it was approved. It will also need to be approved by all of the municipalities in the district as well.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Teal?
No questions.
Okay, and I have no questions either. With that, we'll ask the applicant to come up if you want to just state your name and where you're from.
Commissioners, my name is Pat Mulhern. I'm the manager of the Southeast Public Improvement Metropolitan District that we call SPIMED. And I brought the application forward for this service plan amendment. If you have a few minutes, I'll give you a brief overview of our operations and how they work and why we want this.
It's fine.
Is that acceptable?
Absolutely.
And Lauren made one comment that all of the municipalities in the district have to consider and approve it. And I think it's just the counties. So we needed to get approvals from Denver, Arapahoe, and Douglas. And we've gotten Denver and Arapahoe, so the final one would be today with you, I hope. I'm also here today with Tom Brook. Tom is the CEO of Denver South, and the reason that Tom and I are connected on this is that our district, SPIMED, is the funding entity for Denver South, both for purposes of economic development and for transportation improvements. So Tom is here if you have questions regarding his role in it as well. What this district is in 2004, the business community voted to tax itself for purposes of maintaining the quality of the corridor, both in terms of the economic health and the infrastructure and transportation access. So the business community voted a 2 mil property tax at that time for those purposes. The idea here is to provide you, the local governments, with additional monies when you're looking at economic development or infrastructure in the Southeast Corridor. And the way this all works is that we make the money available to you, the local governments, for projects that meet those goals that are developed by your staff, constructed and maintained and operated by your staff. So we are simply a funding entity in this whole thing. And the way our monies are distributed is through Denver South and their board of directors. And the Denver South Board of Directors includes 6 local government representatives. And so those are representatives of the city and county of Denver, Arapahoe County, Douglas County, and then the cities of Lone Tree, Centennial, and Greenwood Village. So there are 6 local government reps on that board. Then there are 4 development reps that come from the SPIMED board. And then there are 5 representatives of businesses that operate in the corridor. And then finally, the final representative is the executive director of the airport authority. So that group meets and considers projects, and to the extent that they think the project is good for the area, it's recommended to SPIMED for funding, and then SPIMED simply matches the funding of the local governments. So we've done that now. It took a few years to get going, but we've done that now for many years. And in the last 13 years, you guys have done an incredible job in my mind. As you know, transit projects are enormously expensive. You, the local governments, go to DRCOG and ask for state and federal funding to support your projects, and in that way you leverage your money to make big transportation improvements happen in the corridor. What we're doing here is giving you some additional funds to utilize when you go and lobby for those kinds of improvements. And the idea behind it is most local governments come in with whatever a typical match is of, let's say, 20%. And if you come in with our monies at the same time, you can offer greater matches down at COG, and hopefully it results in more awards of projects down here. And it absolutely has. And again, to your credit, and Art Griffith has played an instrumental role in this for years, but in the last 13 years, the local governments have invested $53 million plus or minus in these projects. SPIMED has added $29 million, and it's resulted in over $400 million of infrastructure investment in the corridor during that time period. So this thing has really worked well. The reason we're here today is that we would like to expand our authority, not our taxing authority. It's the same dollars that we have right now. But another way that we can improve things in the corridor, we believe, is by trying to do things that really attract more workforce and employees to live, work, and play in the corridor. And a study was done, an urban corridor study was done through Denver South in 2015 that recommended this. It suggested that we work to double the population or double the number of residences in the corridor over the next many years now, and go from 10,000 units to 20,000 units, and try to attract employees that live and work in that area. And in addition to that, it recommended that we work hard on local mobility to get people from these residences to their place of employment. through whatever means, the Lone Tree Link or regional bikeways or scooters or the light rail, whatever. And so the idea being, if we can get employees to live there and then stay out of their car to go to work, we can keep those trips off of I-25 and reduce the traffic congestion. The second reason that we want to attract workforce is that Denver South a few months ago, and I don't know whether you were at that meeting, Commissioner Layden, but the state demographer was in, and the state demographer talked about the greatest challenge across the country over the next several years is going to be having sufficient workforce for your businesses. And we are going to be competing for that workforce across the country with all other major commercial areas. And so again, the idea is if we work at improving the ambiance in the area to improve our parks and recreational facilities, event centers, and means of moving around within the district, we can attract mainly a Gen Z and millennial workforce that's so important to the area. So we're asking you today if we can have the authority added to our service plan to not only spend the money for transportation, transit, and economic development, but also match funds for park and recreation. And we would do it in exactly the same way we do for transportation. It's all to be planned by the local governments that provide these services in the area, and we would be simply matching those local dollars. So that's a general overview of what we're about. We appreciate your consideration, and can I answer any questions?
Yeah, thank you so much for that excellent presentation. And I know I'm pleased and honored to serve on that board, and also want to welcome our friend and colleague, Tom Brook, who leads that organization in such a significant way. Tom, did you have any additional comments?
Thanks, Commissioners. One piece I wanted to add, I think this is critical as we've talked, and I think it dovetails with some of the initiatives that you are working on with your significant investment you are making in public spaces. The activation of those public spaces, particularly in the corridor, is critical for maintaining life down here in a sense of vitality. I know we've worked closely with Park Meadows and other Douglas County initiatives down here. So I think this is a great extension of this and allows some of that connectivity of the fabric of our society down here beyond just I-25, Quebec, Yosemite, et cetera, but allows the conduit for those using bikes and other means to progress through here, and provides a means for our residents to live, work, and play in this area without the need to go elsewhere. So we strongly support this, and we look forward to working with you on this.
Great. Thanks, Tom. Any questions for staff or the applicant?
I just think that when I first learned about SpyMed, that it was kind of an ingenious way to just tax those right around the edge of I-25 there that would benefit from this as well. So because they were all willing to help, I think it makes a really good partnership with the counties and the cities to help work towards our common goals. So I think this is really a nice idea, again, as things change, as populations change, as people's lifestyles change. It sounds like to me all you're asking is to be able to tweak this, to be able to meet the needs of what you believe your group pays for and needs. So thank you for bringing this to us.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Teal?
No questions.
I'm really thrilled to hear this application today. Obviously, we'll open it up for citizen comment, but, as a fifth-generation Coloradan and somebody that has lived and worked in southeast Denver for most of my career, people often ask, what is that shift in feel and look when you actually come south past Hamden and suddenly you're, getting into Arapahoe, Bellevue, Orchard, Dry Creek? It really does have a gorgeous aesthetic. And now I know know, I can really thank SpyMed, and I can thank the leadership from this organization and many others for the advanced planning and the thoughtfulness around making that corridor just really stand out. And I think we benefit from that with both our new residents and old. I would agree with my colleague that being nimble and flexible with those funds to address future concerns is critically important. Through the support of those we represent, we have about $330 million for parks and open space for the next 15 years of that ballot measure. So the opportunity to partner well with our wonderful community partners, I think, is an added benefit for the county. So thank you for that. If there's no additional commissioner comment, let me open it up for citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment in the room with regard to this item? Seeing none, Troy, is there any online comment?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, and with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
Yeah, I mean, I realize we did receive public comment back during the Planning Commission and asking, well, why in the world would we need this in a business district? But I think, we've seen several applications come through that we've approved, for residential developments within the SpyMed district. It actually seems to be a big initiative. I mean, people are voting with their feet, particularly after COVID. And just last week, I sat through a I sat through a real estate industry presentation at the Northwest Douglas County EDC, and it was made clear. People are jumping ship on downtown Denver. Some are heading to Boulder. Mazel tov, God bless. But many are heading down here. They're coming into the tech center. They're coming into the SpyMed area, and they're finding homes because homes are being built. So it just makes sense. We've heard the refrain many times. I have, at least, many times, that we've got to put people's jobs where people live. And that can be a real challenge sometimes when we talk about infill development. Nobody seems to mind when you're building housing for folks right next to the place they live. So I think it makes perfect sense. And if it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve a resolution approving the Second Amendment of the Southeast Public Improvement Metropolitan District.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion carries 3-0. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. So with that, we'll move to our final item on our land use meeting and public hearing agenda, which is item 3C, a resolution supplementing the 2023 adopted budget to appropriate unanticipated revenues and appropriate restricted, assigned, and unassigned fund balances in the amount of $64,713. I'm not saying that right. $64,713,426. There's no zeros on the end of that, so. Kim Hirsch,
It's hard
presenting for
sometimes
staff.
with those big numbers.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kim Hirsch for the budget staff. I'd like to formally present the third supplemental for fiscal year 2023. The total amount of the request for your consideration today is $64,713,426. More specifically, the supplemental request will be increasing appropriations for the new revenues that have been received since the formal budget adoption, as well as allow for unspent project dollars to be carried forward into the current fiscal year. I will quickly go through some of the larger requests by fund, but we'll be happy to try to answer any of the more specific questions that you have at the end of the presentation. The general fund is $3,327,602. Of this amount, roughly $3.2 million is for new revenues for which spending authority must be appropriated prior to the additional funds being spent. Within the board's packet, I outlined all the grant programs that are being requested be carried forward from the prior fiscal year, as well as any new grants requiring cash match. The Road and Bridge Fund is $1,475,698, of which these are new revenues received, and the few of the larger ones being $292,000 from the Colorado Department of Transportation for traffic signal performance management, and $206,350 in a developer advancement for the Crowfoot Valley Road widening project. all revenues, again, need to be appropriated prior to the funds being spent, so I'm requesting spending authority. The Developmental Disabilities Fund is $993,433. The School Safety and Security Fund, $305,215. Of assigned fund balance is being requested at this time. This is the remaining unspent balance that was from the original $10 million that the board set aside for school safety and mental health initiatives throughout the Douglas County School District. The Road Sales and Use Tax Fund, $485,355. Of this amount, $277,440 is in the form of new revenues received from the Sterling Ranch Community Association Board as their contribution for the Waterton Road Capital Improvement Project, and an additional $207,915,000 from the Colorado Department of Transportation as part of the intergovernmental agreement for the C-470 Trail over Yosemite Bridge Capital Improvement Project. The Park Sales and Use Tax Fund is $785,554. These new appropriations are being requested at this time to be carried forward from the prior fiscal year, 2022, and I've outlined in the board's packet each individual project that is being impacted. And lastly, the American Rescue Plan Act Fund, a whopping total of $57,340,569. This request is carrying forward the unspent balances from the prior fiscal year and will go towards the Douglas County obligations as they relate to the American Rescue Plan Act funding. Again, the total request as presented today is $64,713,426. With this supplemental, the new amended budget for Douglas County will be $681,598,085. Since budget adoption, we've requested an additional $102,042,863 in supplemental appropriations, thus increasing the adopted budget by 17.6%. With that, that concludes my presentation, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Kim, wonderful presentation as always. Any questions for Kim?
Kim, there's a lot of zeros on these forms. When I went through them, and I thought, if anybody can keep these zeros straight, it's you.
Thank you. There's a lot of work. I have Jill and Brandy over here as well that started working on the grants, and they're doing a fabulous job. And Martha's a big help as well.
Thank you to both of you back there as well. So thank you for bringing this forward. I think this just shows $681 million. Has our budget ever been this big?
No.
I didn't think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Teal?
No, great work. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, phenomenal work. I hear you saying those numbers, and after all these years, they keeps going up more and more, and I think that's why we remain so grateful to be in a fiscally conservative county. We've got a county manager that has budgeted so thoughtfully and wisely in partnership with all of you so well, and I think we always get a really good budget from everyone and are proud of the spending that we do have to incur when we do make those expenditures, so thank you very much. With that, let me open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment in the room? Okay, Troy, any citizen comment online?
No, sir, I have no online comment.
Thank you, Troy. And with that, I'll close citizen comment, bring it back to the board for any further discussion and/or a motion.
I have a motion to approve a resolution supplementing the 2023 adopted budget to appropriate unanticipated revenues and appropriate restricted, assigned, and unassigned fund balances in the amount of $64,713,426.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. So with that, the next land use meeting, public hearing, will be held on Tuesday, June 13th, 2023 at 2:30 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.